Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Never mess with the mailman. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Don't ask an owner-operator for his boss's phone number. So I drive an 18-wheeler. Not only that, but I own my own truck and business. One day, while coming into Laredo, Texas, I was in the turning lane for my exit and this car whips out in front of me. Not really having enough room to stop, I turned onto the shoulder, threw on the air horn, which is extremely loud when you're next to the truck, and stopped right beside the guy. He proceeds to get out of his car with his phone and starts taking pictures of my truck and plate. By this time, the light had turned green, so I gave him a few short horn honks and basically tell him to get going. He then beats on my door. So I roll my window down, and he starts screaming about his ears hurting and now how I'm damaging his ability to hear. He then demands that I give him my boss's number and my driver's license number, so he can call it in and report me and have my job for this. And he proceeded to move his car to the shoulder and backed so close to my bumper I couldn't get around him. I kind of smirked at him and told him he didn't want to speak to my boss because he's a short-tempered man and he wouldn't like what my boss would have to say about the issue. But he insisted that he speak to my boss. I also told him if he wanted to call me in, all he'd need was the numbers on the side of my truck since it's assigned to me. Considering I only own one truck, you can imagine what I would assign my truck number to be. I could see his number pop up on my phone mounted to the windshield. He couldn't see it from his angle, and I tried to hold in my laughter. I let it ring for a minute, and he's getting impatient the whole time as traffic is going around us. I finally pick up the phone and answer it. Insert company name here, Transport, how can I help you? His face turns beet red. He proceeded to yell at me some more and tells me it isn't over because now he has my number. Yeah, dude, so do about 100,000 other people, so what? Week later, I get a phone call from a number I didn't have saved in my phone. I'd forgotten about the incident, but thought it might be a broker or a customer. I answer the phone and this lady chirps up. Turns out it was his mother, and she wanted monetary compensation for her son's troubles. I asked if she knew what had even happened, and she tells me some story about how his bumper was damaged by my truck and that he was scared to talk to me because me driving an 18-wheeler was intimidating to him. Being a smart owner, I have a camera in my truck, so I dump all my truck's footage onto my hard drive. I asked her if she could receive videos over email. She said sure, but wasn't sure what I was about to send her. I spend a minute or two looking through the hard drive on my laptop and find the video of the incident and send it to her. While she's still on the phone, I can hear the audio playing as she watched it. Her tone changed in an instant, and I heard her put the phone down, and all hell broke loose in that house. There was Spanish screaming, things being thrown, Lord knows what else was going on. It reminded me of that movie, Christmas Story, when Ralphie's mom calls that lady about the curse words and hears the apocalypse on the phone. Yeah, it was kind of like that, but in Spanish. She then comes back to me and very kindly asks for two things. One, she asked that I forget she called and act as if this never happened because she was embarrassed to no end. And two, if I could delete the video of her son's idiocy. I told her that number one was fine, I could do that. But as far as number two, I would not delete the footage. But the only way anyone other than me or her would see it is if it was needed for a court case. She bid me good day and hung up the phone. And our next story. Getting a protected species off the list. If you've ever worked in a cafe and you know who the protected species are, they're usually blonde, female, and hot. They get the cushier jobs like barista or waitress, and they get paid to bat their eyelashes and look pretty and not much else. For some reason, they never have to help the other staff clean and pack down the establishment at the end of a shift. They never, and I mean never, have to clean the toilets. In fact, you never really see them do anything except text on their phone and be rude to customers. Usually the boss wants to F them, so they get away with not working. I got so sick of the protected species at one of my jobs because she'd leave earlier than me every day and leave all the cleaning and packing down for me to do, even though we were meant to share the job equally. I mentioned it to the boss, and he pretended to take it on board, and nothing was ever said or done about it. She continued to show up, not work, collect money, then hit the beach. If only we all could be kissed on the butt by financially stable neo-hippie parents and surf through life on a sea of coconut oil and kale smoothies. The final straw came when she made me empty her coffee bin after standing there texting on her phone and watching me clean the entire cafe by myself. We had 4 seating areas and an outdoor courtyard that needed attending to. That's a lot of furniture, umbrellas, heavy signs, and flower pots to carry and store inside, as well as mopping, vacuuming, cleaning down all the furniture, and packing down and cleaning the front of the house equipment. One day I got to work a few minutes before her, and I punched holes in the bottom of a fresh bin bag and set up her coffee bin for the day. Usually I work very clean and efficiently. I put everything away after using it, refill items that are running low, and wipe down my workspaces. This day, I did the kinds of things she would do. I left everything out and messy. I let everything, including the floor, get sticky when I made the fresh squeezed juices. I deliberately left spilled milk around the milkshake mixers. I didn't refill the cakes in the display fridge. I made sure I got coffee grind under my shoes and tracked it all over the sticky tiles. I didn't cut up the fruit to refill the tubs. I didn't refill anything. Then 45 minutes before the cafe was due to close, I quietly slipped into the little office out back and told my boss I was having lady problems and needed to leave early. I rarely took sick days and always came in early and worked back late. He didn't question it and told me to go home and take care of myself. I slipped out the back without saying goodbye. When I got to work the next day, I found out she had pulled the bag out of the coffee bin and all the filthy grind and watery black slop went all over her shoes and the tiles she'd just mopped. She had to stay back and clean it up and mop the floor a second time. She had to clean and pack down the entire cafe by herself, and it was 10 times filthier than it usually was because I hadn't been giving a F all day. It took her almost 2 hours to do it all, and by the end she was covered in filth, sweating, and cursing about it. Little Precious couldn't handle putting in any elbow grease, and she was crap at her job. This became obvious to my boss, finally. He was not impressed that it took her so long to pack down. She tried to complain about me leaving early and leaving it all for her, and he pointed out that she often does the same thing to me, only it doesn't take me anywhere near as long to do my job. Anytime she worked with me after that, the boss made sure she did half the work. She hated it, and she hated me. It was obvious. I tried not to look too smug about it. She didn't last there too much longer. All you did was make her do her job and ruined her evening and changed how she worked with you. Bravo. And our last story. Vindictive HOA president. I babysat and elder sat for the neighbors down the street who committed this malicious compliance, so I was there to hear the ranting as this whole mess went down. We'll call my neighbors Liz and Dave. They were nice folks who ran afoul of the Homeowners Association, HOA, when the busybody president who lived next door to them, we'll call her Joan, got it in her rotted turnip for a brain that Liz and Dave had taken in an illegal renter. Renting out rooms was strictly against HOA policy. They had not rented out a room. Liz's elderly mother had moved in with them after breaking her hip and being unable to live alone anymore. Joan sent them a very threatening letter about their unlawful renter and how fines would accrue if the unlawful renter didn't vacate immediately. It was accompanied with a copy of that part of the bylaws and pictures of Liz's elderly mother taken through windows of their house. Creep alert! They wrote back that there was no renter and explained the situation. Joan did not believe that story and had the HOA lawyer start sending them certified letters about their continued violations with ever-increasing insane fines. This went over poorly. Liz and Dave got their own lawyer to fire back a cease and desist letter. After many increasingly aggressive back and forths, it all culminated in an association meeting where Liz, Dave, and Liz's mother came in with ID and birth certificates and basically made Joan look like the pimple on the backside of humanity she was. They won, but Joan was furious and swore she'd get them for something. Joan maintained until the day I left for college, last I knew of her, that Liz and Dave had forged those driver's licenses and birth certificates to keep their unlawful renter. Cut to the following fall. Liz and Dave needed to repaint the house after making some siding repairs post-hurricane. They carefully checked the bylaws for approved paint colors and picked out a fairly bland shade of something between brown and tan. They gave the painters the color info listed in the bylaws, and the painting happened. Less than a week after their house was painted, they got another certified letter from the HOA lawyer stating their house was the wrong color. They fired back evidence they ordered exactly what was in the bylaws. Well, after many back and forths, it turned out the approved color and the swatches on file with the board no longer matched because the manufacturer had changed the colors in their line slightly due to some kind of formula change. Their house was a few shades darker than it should have been. See, the bylaws listed the manufacturer color info for convenience, but the shades actually had to match the official swatches you could have theoretically borrowed from the board and gotten color matched. Nobody ever did that, but Joan was out for blood after the unlawful renter and forced them to have to repaint. Liz and Dave were taking no chances on the second try. They got the swatch set from the HOA. For some reason, it made no distinction between approved accent colors. Most houses in the neighborhood had brightly colored doors or house colors. They decided that if they had to paint their house a second time, Joan, the dog that caught the car, could live next door to the most garish option they had. It was pumpkin orange. The painters asked multiple times if they were sure. They were very sure. You couldn't see the orange from inside, but you sure could from next door. Joan made many attempts to object to this, but it was within the letter of the HOA rules, and the house stayed orange until long after I moved away. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.